Yes, the day has finally come. I'm going to show you how to punish the most popular move for white, the king's pawn to e4. This is probably what you'll face in the vast majority of your games. And I found a little recipe that I'm going to show you in this video. And in a quick way too, because it's not complicated to beat it. We'll start with the Sicilian defense. Don't worry, it's not complicated. Even if you don't know anything about the Sicilian defense, don't worry, because there's nothing complicated about it. Let me explain what you should do. First, they'll follow up with knight to f3. They always follow with knight to f3, whether we play the king's pawn or the Sicilian. Knight to f3 is the most used move of all. And here, instead of making the most natural moves, you know what we're going to do? Pay attention, because no one expects this. Sit. Well, here, your opponent might think, why play a6? A truly strange move. A pawn move that gives us absolutely nothing. Well, here's the thing. They can continue in a completely normal way by playing d4, which is the most popular move of all. It would be a bit strange if they played this bishop here. If they have no idea about the Sicilian, they might play it, but we could simply keep advancing. These pawns couldn't go back because we'd win the bishop. If they come here, we could start putting on a lot of pressure. So the normal thing here is that instead of developing the bishop, okay, what they'll do is play d4, which is the best and most logical move, and the one they use most. Watch. We exchange the pawn. In the Sicilian defense, the c-pawn is always exchanged for the d-pawn. That's what we always do, okay? Nothing new. If they capture with the queen, it's not a good move, because then developing the knight to c6 wins a tempo by attacking the queen. Therefore, they must capture with the knight. Notice that I'm explaining everything? Move by move, the reason why, so that you understand it perfectly, and that way, no matter what your opponents do, you can win the game. First important move, knight to f6. Here, they have two options, make a complete mistake or continue normally. If they make a total mistake and advance the pawn threatening this knight, watch out, you'll see this because this knight is all alone here and can be easily attacked. Simply queen to a5. It puts the king in check, and it's also threatening this pawn. Therefore, both things cannot be defended at the same time. And so, we'll win that pawn completely for free, and have a very comfortable game with an extra pawn, and especially the most important pawn in the position. But the real trick will come when they keep playing normally and don't fall into this trap. But instead, when we threaten the pawn with knight to f6, they defend it with knight to c3, meaning they play in a completely normal way. And this is exactly what we want, for them to play normally, because they're going to fall into our massive trap. By the way, if you want to know where I learn all these things, and many more, I'm going to leave the app I use for training right down here in the description. It's a spectacular app, created by Grandmaster Mauricio Flores, one of the most important and influential Spanish-speaking grandmasters in the history of chess. And of course, I'll leave it for you down here. In the description, it's completely free. And if you like it, you can access many more courses by paying, okay? But the app itself is completely free. Proof it. How are we going to continue with this great opening, trap, call it what you want, with this very interesting move, e5? e5, what it poses is a direct threat to this knight. And thanks to the fact that we've placed the pawn on a6, now everything starts to make sense. They can't come here, which would bother us a lot, okay? This would bother us a lot. Therefore, since they can't jump, they must go back, for example to b3, for example to f3, or even if they want, to f5. The engine recommends going to e2, which is a weirder move, right? This is what we like, that the engine recommends weird moves because we know our opponent won't make them. For example, the most common one, and the one I find most often, is knight f3, attacking this pawn here. Are we going to defend up? No. We're going to continue with the next spectacular line. We come to pin the knight with our bishop on the b4 square. You'll see how interesting it is. Without a doubt, it wouldn't be a good idea to capture this pawn. Do you know why? Because our threat is much better. We're threatening knight takes e4, putting too much pressure on this pin. And then later we could also do queen e7 to attack the knight. Well, it would be a disaster. What do they have to do? Defend this pawn, obviously. How can they do it? Well, you'll agree with me that the most logical thing is to play bishop d3 while defending this pawn, right? So this is where we'll play the brutal d5. And believe it or not, here we're practically already winning. They practically can't save themselves. Let's look at all the options. We're making two threats at once. The first, coming here to threaten the pinned knight and win a piece. And the second, capturing here, threatening bishop and knight as well, and winning a piece. So they can't stop both threats. For example, what could they do? Well, it occurs to me they could do a 3 to kick out this bishop, but it wouldn't help because queen of 5 would follow. It couldn't be captured because the rook would fall. So here, whatever they do, we'd win a piece. For example, if they now cover this pin to avoid this, we'll simply capture here and win this piece here. For example, first eliminating the knight and then capturing here. However, a 3 isn't the most common move here. For example, what if they played bishop d2? Immediately, we'd capture here and win a piece. Therefore, it seems the only way they save themselves is by eliminating us. The pawn, the truly problematic one that was threatening both to advance and to capture. So they eliminate it. And now what? Do we recapture it? No. We simply advance and we perform the fork once again. And here many of you will tell me, look, chess teacher, all this is very well. Now I'm threatening a bishop and a knight, but they simply capture me right here. I can recapture, right? Because now the knight can't recapture because it's pinned. But this is the most important part of all. They play queen e2, so they pin this knight, and they're simply going to win it back. Well, no, don't worry, because they don't have time to win back this knight, because we're going to do the following important thing. Bishop takes knight, pawn takes bishop. And now the key move is castling. And they no longer have time to win back this knight because they only have one chance to capture it now. Otherwise, we'll move it back and then we'll save it. We'd be up a piece. And if they capture it, then simply rook e8, pinning the queen and the king, so we'd win the queen, or they can place the piece in front of the queen and the rook, therefore, then we'd only win this piece. But it's very simple. We play f6, and this piece is going to be captured. It can't move away. For example, it could continue. 4, pawn takes, we'd keep pressing with knight d7, they defend it, for example, knight f6, brutal move, threatening the queen, also threatening this pawn. And you can see that we logically have a full piece advantage here, and the position on top of that is very advantageous for us. We attack here, we attack here. Sure, chess teacher, I'll be very happy if this knight retreats to f3. But as you yourself told me, this knight can come to both b3 and f5 as well. How should I react? First, if they go to f5, you should know it's not a very good move. You can react immediately with this d5. Very good move. Why? Because now first they can't capture you because they'd lose the knight. This pawn is very important and must be defended. However, they can also make the best move, huh? The best move is this one. They're coming to test us a bit here. With this bishop pinning the knight, don't worry, you can advance this pawn attacking the knight. When it jumps, then it seems like we're in trouble. But the thing is, they lose material here. Why? Because the pawn on d4 is an overworked piece. You know what an overworked piece means, right? A piece that defends two pieces at the same time. Therefore, we eliminate one while deflecting the pawn, and then the other knight is left completely hanging, and we're up a piece again. And now, the most important part of the video, what happens if they play the best move for white? How should I react? Because imagine they don't fall for the mole trap. Easy, I assure you. e4, c5, Sicilian defense. We play a 6. Important and key moment, we must play this a 6 no matter what. Okay. How do we continue? Well, the most common thing here is to exchange the center pawns, and now we'll play knight f6. So if they make the mistake of advancing, we have queen f5 winning the pawn. And if they play the correct knight c3, we're going to play e5. We've punished knight f3, we've punished knight f5, and now let's see how to play against the best move, knight b3. Very simple. What we should do is start with this pin right here, which we threaten the following, knight takes e4. Because now this knight isn't defending because it's pinned. So they have two options. Defend this pawn with f3. Or with bishop d3. The best one is with the bishop. What happens if they defend with the pawn? Very simple. When they defend with the pawn, we break in the center, okay? So that now we're threatening to advance and win this point here again. You remember, right? So they must capture. And when they capture, we simply make these exchanges quickly. They realize we're threatening to capture here, so they must cover the pin, and I recommend making the exchanges, okay? And here, once you exchange everything, as you can see, you have a very, very favorable position. Why? Because here, the black pieces are the ones pressing. These pawns are completely weak. This castling will come soon. This pawn has ended up very strange, where this diagonal will always be open for the king, so this position is a bit odd for white and very easy to play for black. And what if they make the best move? That is, instead of defending with the pawn, they defend with the bishop. I'll go through it quickly. Don't be afraid to repeat, because that's what works best to make it stick in your head. E4, C5, knight F3, A6, D4, C takes D4, knight takes D4, knight F6, knight C3. E5, knight B3, the good move. We'll continue with this bishop B4. Defending with the pawn was bad. The right thing is to defend with the bishop. And if they defend with the bishop, chess teacher, they're doing everything perfectly. What should I do? Simple. You're going to do the following. Capture this knight so that you double the pawns. See how simple it is? This structure is technically losing for the white pieces. It's true they haven't fallen for any tricks. However, we're in a much better position. We play d6, for example. They castle, we castle too. No matter how much they try to come here and do things they shouldn't, right? We can stop it very easily. For example, we kick the bishop. Bishop e6, right? We come with knight d7. This is more for guidance, okay? They've done it perfectly. I'm showing you how to do it in case you have no idea. So that now we're going to place the rook on c8 along the semi-open file, attacking these two pawns that are very weak. And they're going to end up falling because the only way to save them would be to advance them. And then the bishop and the rook would come and capture them, right? We can also play this b5, queen b6, queen c7. It's a tremendously correct position, and better for black than for white. And not as if they haven't fallen into our trap. As you can see, this incredible trap and opening for the black pieces is fabulous. If you like these kinds of videos, give me a big thumbs up, okay? Remember, there's an app that I use, and it works extremely well for training right down here in the description. Check it out because you're gonna love it, and I'll see you tomorrow in the next video, friends. Bye.